Suckers. Gross! I shrieked. Alex Pratt shook the wiggling jellyfish in my face. What's the matter, Ashley? Scared of a little jellyfish? She's a wimp. All summer people are wimps, Jimmy Stone exclaimed. He's Alex's best friend. Alex and Jimmy are 14 years old, a year older than me. They think they're really cool because they live on Black Island all year round, and anybody who doesn't live here is a wimp. And that includes my little brother Jack and my cousin Greg. Drop it on her head. Go on, do it, Jimmy urged, pushing his dark, greasy hair out of his eyes. Alex snickered. He dangled the jellyfish over my head, then he lowered it, slowly. Leave her alone, my cousin Greg yelled. He was hiding behind me. You know, I think they might be right about Greg. He is kind of wimpy. Alex pushed me aside. Not hard to do. Alex stands at least a foot taller than me and is twice as wide. I smell gummies, Alex crowed. He moved in closer to Greg. He shoved him back hard. Hand them over, Greggy. No way, Greg replied, and quit shoving me, please. Yeah, Jack echoed. Quit shoving him, or you'll be in big trouble. I take karate, you know. The Karate Kid, Jimmy sneered. And Gummy Boy, added Alex. Get them! Alex and Jimmy jumped. They knocked Greg and Jack down into the sand. Then Alex sat on top of Greg. Look what I found, Alex said, pulling out a big bag of gummies from Greg's pocket. He lifted the bag and emptied it into his mouth. Then the two tough guys jumped up and ran. Alex and Jimmy are ruining our whole summer, I wailed. We walked along the beach. Greg plucked a piece of driftwood from the shore and hurled it into the ocean. I hate those creeps more than anything, he muttered. I'm going to make them pay. Yeah, Jack cried with enthusiasm. When I earn my black belt, I'll karate them. My teacher says I'm lightning. Greg rolled his eyes. You have about 10 belts to go, he reminded Jack. Then he slid his hands into the front pocket of his shorts. His face lit up. Hey, they didn't get all my gummies. He fished a crumpled bag out of his right pocket. Then he dropped a few of the slimy candies into his mouth. Greg chomps a few dozen of them a day. He passed the bag to Jack. Want one? Jack chewed away in silence, quiet for once. How about you, Ash? He offered the bag to me. No way, I replied. Worm candy? Totally gross. You're nuts, Greg replied. These are awesome. They're the best. He raised the bag to his mouth and gobbled the rest of the worms down. Hey, Ash, look, Greg grinned at me. Little bits of green, purple and red gummy worms stuck to his teeth. Yuck, you are gross. Totally gross. Right, Jack? I asked. Right? Jack didn't answer. What's that? He said, pointing to a big trunk up ahead on the beach at Bowen's Cove. The three of us raced through the sand to the trunk. Jack reached it first. The rusty old chest was as long as a coffin, draped with barnacles and seaweed, and padlocked. Jack hopped up and down. It's a pirate's chest full of treasure, gold and jewels. It's not a pirate's chest, Greg replied. It probably just fell off a boat and washed ashore. I bet it's full of fishing gear. I wrinkled my nose. The chest smelled mouldy and sour. I bet it's full of rotten fish. Jack danced around the chest. Let's open it. Hurry! He slammed the lock with the side of his left hand. It didn't budge. I'll open it, Greg bragged. Stand back. He lifted his foot, then smashed it down hard on the lock. Nothing. I scanned the beach. A few yards away, I spotted a sturdy piece of driftwood. I hurried over and carried it back. Then I shoved the wood into the tiny space between the lock and the lid. With two hands, I slowly pushed down on the wood. Pop! The lock shot open. Way to go, Jack cried. Then the three of us started to lift the damp, heavy lid, inch by inch. Whoa! I cried as it banged open. A big, green, quivering blob sprang out and flew right at me. It latched onto my leg. Help! Help! It's got me! I shrieked. Pull it off! Pull it off! I shook my leg wildly, but the thing held on, cold and slimy, clammy, and as smelly as 100 dead fish. It wrapped itself tightly around me. It covered my leg from ankle to knee. Help! I called out to Jack and Greg, but they stood frozen with fear. I pushed frantically at the slimy blob. My fingers sank into the cold green gunk. Oh, I let out a moan as I felt underneath the skin. The thing had suckers that twitched and tugged at my skin, and the more I struggled, the tighter they grasped my leg. Thwack! It moved. It dragged itself up my leg by its suckers, leaving a burning, itchy trail. Get it off, I moaned. Greg and Jack awoke from their trance. They grabbed for the blob. They yanked at it, but the suckers dug deeper into my leg. Thwack! Thwack! The blob inched up my thigh, squeezing harder. Greg pounded the blob with a stick. Off, slime ball, he yelled. Off! Greg, stop, I cried. You're smashing my leg. Thwack! The blob yanked a moist sucker off my thigh and wiggled it in the air, almost as if it was sniffing. Then it nosed the sucker into Greg's t-shirt pocket. Whoa! Cried Greg and jumped back. The sucker emerged with a gummy worm. Slop! It sucked the candy into its slimy body. It ate the gummy worm, Greg stammered. Did you see that? But it doesn't have a mouth, Jack shuddered. It doesn't even have a head. Now the blob quivered up to my stomach. The suckers jerked at my skin. Would it slurp me down too? Stop talking, do something, I screamed. Greg grabbed a bunch of gummy worms from his pocket. He dangled them in front of the blob. Thwack! Thwack! The creature flew off me and heaved itself at the gummy worms. Then it slurped them down. Yes, you did it, I cried. But now it's on me, Greg moaned, and I'm out of gummies. I stared in horror. The blob clung to Greg's arm, writhing, pulsating. Jack gaped at the creature. I think it's growing. Jack was right. The creature strangled Greg's arm and oozed across his chest. More candy, Greg choked. In my bedroom, hurry, it's squeezing me. Jack and I raced to the front door of our beach cottage. We turned the doorknob. Locked. Nobody home. Jack flung the doormat aside and found the key hidden there for us. He opened the door and we sprinted up to Greg's bedroom. Check his dresser, I ordered. I yanked open Greg's closet door. I poured through his sweatshirts and jeans. Not a single gummy. I can't find any in the dresser, Jack cried. Check under the bed, I said. Check everywhere. I dug through the bottom of the closet. Sneakers, dirty socks. Finally, I spied the familiar bags. Dozens of them. I found the gummies, I cried in triumph. I snatched up a bag, empty, then another, and another, all empty. What are we going to do? Jack wailed. We'll go to the store. Come on, hurry. Let's find our bikes. We pedaled furiously to Simpson's General Store. We dropped our bikes outside the store and dashed inside. Packages of gummy worms were piled up on the counter. I snatched about 20 bags, all I could carry. Jack did the same. That will be... Mr. Simpson started. Oh, no money. I didn't have any money. Mr. Simpson, please, I don't have any money. And I need these gummy worms, I explained frantically. It's a matter of life and death. They're for Greg. Greg? He's my best customer, always buying gummy worms. Okay, go ahead. I'll charge it to your parents' bill. Thanks, Mr. Simpson, I called. We rushed out of the store. Jack and I tossed the bags of candy into my bike basket. There's the shortcut to Bowen's Cove, Jack cried. He pointed to a dusty road off Main Street. Let's take it. I hesitated. Okay, I agreed, but you'd better be right. We raced to the road, then skidded into the turn. Oh no, Jack cried. My gear chain slipped. I have to fix it. Go ahead without me. Just stay on this road, then turn at the cutoff. It's not far. Perfect, I mumbled, rolling my eyes. I zoomed down the deserted dirt road. I whizzed by the tall dune grass, so quiet, so still. No one in sight and no cutoff for the cove. I braked to a complete stop, turned my bike around. I think I'm lost, I said out loud. You're found now. The dune grass parted. Alex and Jimmy came lumbering out. They gripped my handlebars. Roadblock, Jimmy smirked. No summer people allowed. Alex peered inside my bike basket. Yum, gummy worms. Hey, Jimmy. Ashley wants to share her candy. No, I shrieked. I need those. Alex and Jimmy began tearing into the gummy worm bags. I tried to yank my bike away, but Alex grabbed onto the handlebars again. Then Jack came pedaling up, hair flying, racing up the path, his tyres throwing huge dirt clouds up in the air. Alex and Jimmy turned to face him. I quickly moved my bike to the roadside. Clear the path, jerks, Jack cried out. Uh-oh, watch out, Jimmy, the Karate Kid is going to run us over, Jimmy laughed. Jack kept coming. When he was nearly on top of them, he flung his legs out and kicked them both into the dirt. With a cheer, I jumped on my bike. We sped away. You'll be sorry, I heard Alex call after us. Yeah, you guys are in big trouble, Jimmy yelled. We flew down the road and there it was, the cut-off to Bowen's Cove. We reached the beach in minutes. We scooped up the candy and sprinted down to Greg. And gasped. The oily blob bulged and quaked, much bigger than Mum's beach umbrella, and no sign of Greg. Then I heard a faint cry. Help me, help me. Greg, I screamed, where are you? Thwack, thwack. The slimy blob quivered in the sand, and that's when I saw the sneaker. Greg's sneaker. He's under the blob, I screamed to Jack. Can't breathe, Greg moaned. Hold on, Greg, I cried. I quickly ripped open a small bag of gummy worms and placed 6 candies down in a thin line. Thwack, thwack. The slime monster slid forward and slurped the gummies up eagerly. More! Open more bags, I told Jack. He tore through the bags and I flung huge handfuls into the sand. Thwack! The blob plucked a slimy sucker off Greg. It quivered excitedly. Let Greg go, I thought. Please, let Greg, go. I threw a mound of gummy worms on the sand. The monster yanked its suckers off Greg. It rolled forward and slurped down the candy. I spun around to Jack. Lots more gummies, fast. Try to lead the creature back into the chest. Greg stumbled as he tried to stand on his wobbly legs. Then he and Jack tore open bags of candy. I placed a thick trail of gummy worms in the sand, a river of gummy worms leading to the chest. Thwack, thwack. The monster followed our trail, slurping down candy. A foot from the chest. The chest! Throw some gummies into the chest, I commanded. Jack and Greg pitched the candy in. Thwack! The blob lurched forward, inches from the chest. Throw the bags right in, there's no time to open them, I shouted. The blob wriggled its way up to the chest wall, but it had grown too big to heave itself up. We have to push it in, I cried. Jack drew back. You push it in, he shouted. I'm not touching that blob. What if it grabs me? Not me, Greg protested. That thing nearly strangled me. But it's our only chance, I wailed. We have to boost it back in. They didn't move. I threw myself against the creature and shoved, but my hands kept slipping. It's too slimy, I moaned. I need your help, please. Jack and Greg stepped forward. Then we all pushed and pushed and pushed. Sweat ran down my forehead. The boys' faces turned a bright red. Slowly, we hoisted the monster into the chest, one oily bulge at a time. Then we slammed the lid down and jumped on top. Hey, look! Jack pointed down to the front of the chest. A bag of gummy worms hung out. Gummies! Greg cried gleefully. Awesome! Exactly what I need right now. He leaned over to lift the lid. Are you crazy? I shrieked. That thing in the chest almost squeezed you to death. Don't lift that lid. Uh-oh, Jack warned. We glanced up to see Alex and Jimmy angrily charging toward us. Jack, just the guy we're looking for, Alex called. I think we owe you something. We scrambled off the chest and headed full speed for the dunes. I turned back and saw Alex and Jimmy stop in front of the trunk. Look, gummy worms, Alex cried, pointing to the bag poking through the lid. Excellent. There's plenty more inside, I called. Then Jack, Greg and I watched as Alex and Jimmy eagerly pulled up the lid. Just kidding, guys. It's just me. Hey, look, if you are after more chills, thrills, and... Did I mention chills? Please subscribe to the Leftovers channel. I'll be doing a whole bunch more super spooky material, especially the Goosebumps book reading. I've tracked down every single one of those 10 tales to give you goosebumps, and I will be reading each story. So subscribe, hit that little bell icon so you can keep getting notified. You know how the system works. And yeah, tune in next time for some more Leftovers from the Leftover Culture Review.